This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 189.
I don't want to be a huge strategy hopper because, one, it takes a while just to figure out what your strategy is. And it's like, okay, I'm getting more comfortable in what I like.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host. He recently discovered that Mama C's Donuts in Maumee, Ohio are the bomb. Clay Trader.
And if you are unaware, I try to stay humble, but I'm not even going to be humble in this case. I'm a donut connoisseur. I have tried donuts in Denver, in Tennessee, Nashville, in Michigan, in Ohio. I've tried donuts in Florida. I've tried donuts in many, many places. And some of the best I've had, I won't call them the best, but they are, like the sound guy said, the bomb. They were right in my backyard where I grew up in good old Maumee, Ohio. So if you are near Maumee, Ohio, which is near Toledo, Ohio, which is about an hour south of Detroit. So there we go. I think that should give the location there. But try Mama C's in Maumee, Ohio. They are legit donuts. They are good donuts. And now whenever I go back to visit my parents, they know where I am on Saturday mornings because I disappear. And it's because I'm going to Mama C's to get some donuts. So Ches, have you ever heard of Maumee, Ohio? Because Ches, who is our esteemed co-host, offer up a little context. He grew up in the state of Illinois, which is kind of next door to Ohio. But have you ever heard of Maumee?
I have not, but what I do know from Ohio is that anyone from Illinois did not like driving through there because your cops would always focus on Illinois plates. And whether that's true or not, I have no idea, but it always felt like that when you're a younger driver. But no, I've never heard of that part of Ohio.
Have you heard of Toledo, Ohio?
I absolutely have.
Okay, so there we go. We're branching out, getting more and more context there. Well, if you are ever in Maumee, Ohio, I don't know how, because you don't have an Illinois plate anymore. I don't know how they feel towards Colorado plates, but
might be worse. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, but you got to check in Mama C's. And one final plug for them: they're like the total mom and pop shop. Last time I was there, the person in front of me, they didn't even need to order. They were just, hey, I can't remember the guy's first name, but they called him by the first name, same as usual. Yup, and they went and got his order. And then even the person behind me, they were greeted with their first name. And they were probably looking at me like, who is this guy? But I bought a dozen donuts, so they couldn't have been too leery-eyed of me. But yeah, they're really good. I would recommend their maple one. If Mama C's, if you're listening, try putting some bacon on that maple one. That would kick it up a notch. But anyways, we'll move on to our interview. Today we are talking with somebody in the great Pacific Northwest of, I meant to ask him this, Ches. I call it Oregon, but I wonder if that offends people that live there. No,
they don't like it. I assure you they don't like it. No, they
crap. Don't. Sorry, Keith. But
Oregon.
Oregon, excuse me. I'm just a stupid Midwesterner, okay? I mean, what can I say?
As am I,
but,
don't worry.
Yeah. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So we talked about Keith. He's a full-time trader. He quit his job to go full-time, and that brings about some interesting rabbit holes that we pursue and go down. And there's definitely some things that he admittedly regrets doing, but there are also some things in regards to going full-time that he definitely did do right from more so kind of a personal finance type perspective. So there's, like I said, a lot of interesting talking points in and of that part of the journey. But all in all, let's sit down and hear of Keith and his trading journey. Keith, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
My first question has to do with your avatar. I think that's the right Keith that I'm looking at, but are you the Keith with a hamburger avatar?
Yep, I chose the hamburger.
So are you like a hamburger connoisseur, or I mean, what's the history here of this interesting choice of avatar?
Just boil down to picking something out, and I do like hamburgers, so just rolled with that, I guess.
So it's not like you own a hamburger joint and that's your logo or anything like that?
No.
Can I be honest with you, Keith?
Yes, please do.
I'm kind of disappointed in your answer.
I'm a little bummed. I think we're going to cut this podcast, Keith. It's been great having you, man. Thanks for coming out.
I thought I was going to get some sort of, well, actually, I own a hamburger joint, and you're going to have some sort of
I serve it out of the back of my pickup truck, but it's the best burger you'll ever have.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be some sort of great rabbit holes, but
maybe
as simple as I like hamburgers. What was that, Keith?
Oh, just maybe I do have some aspiring dreams to be a hamburger titan at some point, but as of now, no, I don't.
All right, fair enough. Oh, nothing like, well, Ches, at least we set the bar really low now. That way, Keith, there's really only one direction Keith can go from here, and that's up.
That's true. We're pretty good at setting the bar low.
Yeah, that is definitely true. But just by showing up, both of us set the bar pretty low. I mean,
together, especially when we show up together. The bar is really low.
Together, it's truly a skill to set the bar as low as we set it. Anyways, since we didn't get to go to any fun rabbit holes there, but Keith, thank you though for being here in all seriousness. But where did all this start for you? Where did you hear about the markets, and what got you to the point of being interested enough to, not necessarily throw your money into it, but want to, look deeper into it in terms of getting more hands-on?
So I've been trying to figure out how to answer this because I'm 41 and I've dabbled from time to time in the markets, but I can't remember where I first got the bug for it, because it's not like I grew up in a family that's into trading or anything like that. I don't know, maybe in college I had taken some economic classes, and that might have somewhere, maybe they mentioned the stock market. I'm not sure.
What'd you go to school for?
That's a good question. So I have a history degree, and that's just kind of what I ended up with, just to get the piece of paper.
No, I hear you. It's like a checkbox. Unfortunately, it's an expensive checkbox, but it is a checkbox nonetheless. Yeah. But I mean, if you weren't doing any trading in college per se, did you start paying attention more to, say, a 401k when you got a job out of college, or was there another introduction for the market?
That makes sense. Probably, at least it got me somewhat interested. One of my first real job, I guess you could say. Financial guy came around and, told us what our options were. And so, obviously it wasn't a whole lot of money, but, I guess that might've been, I'm sure that was probably the beginning.
Obviously there's a decent chunk of time between when you kind of graduated college, got a job, and now. Mm-hmm. So I guess the bigger question is when did you, how recently did you start kind of getting more involved in the market? Was it a couple of years ago? Were you just kind of keeping a loose pulse on how the market was doing, catching it in a newspaper here and there? Or was there something you saw that kind of really piqued your interest and you're like, okay, I'm going to look a little deeper into this?
So there's probably been like sort of two waves where I've been more involved than others, but probably the more recent one, it was probably just a couple years ago, and trying to figure out how to make some more money. So I was a mailman for like almost 6 years, and I don't know if it was just a Google search. I don't know why. I can't remember, just a couple of years ago. But I've totally bid on something, penny stock millionaire type thing or something. I don't know. I knew that, it was probably full of crap, but it was worth going down the rabbit hole again of trying to figure out, what is a decent way to go about this. And so with my job, I had a lot of time just to listen to podcasts, and as I walked around delivering mail,
running away from dogs.
Yeah, exactly. So I just started searching podcasts, and yours was one of them. And
well, there you go. So you certainly have. That's funny, because I always ask people before we get recording, have you listened to any other episodes? Just because I want to kind of get a little bit of context of where they're coming from. But I'm assuming you've listened to quite a few of them, like you said, then if you were listening to them as you delivered mail. Now, you said it kind of came in two waves, and you were talking about the most recent wave. Out of curiosity, I mean, what spurred on the first wave where you decided you wanted to try to dabble, and that was Do you have any
It was,
recollection of
I
how
mean,
that
it was
all kind
probably
of?
it was probably kind of similar, honestly, but it was like, probably about 10, 15 years ago. And yeah, I remember, I remember like actually like checking out some books, I think, and reading like some Motley Fool stuff, and just, yeah, going for it. Not wasn't, a lot of money, but opened up a Scott Trade account, and just, yeah, spent, at that point I was doing real estate, so I had a little more time to, look at computer screens and stuff like that.
Okay, I mean, is it fair to say that the reason you started looking at those books and the reason you started to kind of both these waves occurred was it as something as simple as, hey, I just want to try to bring a few more revenue streams into my personal finance situation?
Yeah, for sure. I think, this last go around has been more of like planning to do this full time, and have spent a lot of time as my main sort of gig. Not that I'm profitable yet, but yeah, that's a little bit of where I'm at. Sorry, I might not have answered your question.
It's all about the journey here, though, for sure. So that's we're glad we had you on.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Listeners, don't judge me. Our chat or our podcast software has this mute function, and I've been trying to mute myself, but I've caught myself, and it just happened where I'm starting to talk. Yeah, but nobody hears me, so
you'll get used
my
to it.
apologies for the awkward silence there, Ches, where I was supposed to pipe in.
Clay's new here. I've been using that mute button since podcast one, but that's okay. Clay's new here. It's all good.
Yeah, so what I was actually trying to ask before, I was wondering why is nobody listening to me? I'm talking and nobody's responding, but that makes sense. So you found the podcast, going back to the second wave. You started listening. I mean, were you listening to other podcasts? Or I guess the question here is, from the point you found the podcast to the point where either you signed up for a broker, or did you already have a broker at that point?
I had, trying to think. I think I did. But was, just kind of had money on the sidelines a little bit. So there was, I don't know if you want me to name whatever else I was listening to, but listen to more of like a fundamental type guy. And it was around the time like mining stocks were kind of doing well, and so I put like I think like $1,000 into one stock, and then in a couple months it had doubled. And
okay, how did you determine that you were did this guy just tell you to put your money in that mining stock, and that's how you arrived at that decision?
I don't know if he was. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's directly telling people to do it, but advocating it, So it just kind of, and some of his other ideas I'd follow, and it seemed like, wow, it seems like, man, this guy knows everything.
So did the fundamental type guy come before or after the penny stock millionaire dream stuff?
That was after.
Okay, all right. I was like,
yeah,
it seems like you kind of recognized it. Yeah, it piqued your interest. You kind of recognized it, and this seemed like a more realistic way to kind of be involved in the market. Am I wrong?
No, yeah, you're right.
Gotcha. So after kind of looking at this fundamental guy, did that were you going to try to attempt to start buying value stocks or reading balance sheets, things like that?
No, I mean, I've never really taken the time to, go all in as a fundamental type person. I mean, at the end of the day,
why do you think that is?
That's a good question. I mean, now, basically it's just all charts. I mean, I am definitely interested in something, I don't like to just jump in willy-nilly just because the price is moving. I like to know what the heck it is and whatnot, but I guess, I'll save that for the business school guys or something.
Right,
No,
right.
Did you have something,
Clay.
Chaz? Oh, no.
No,
Yeah.
go for
Okay. Because I'm locked and loaded over here. So you hear the podcast, and like Chaz said, you almost, I mean, I don't know if you almost went down, but the penny stock hole was kind of presented to you, and you're like, nope, I'm going to just sidestep that, start listening to podcasts. And like you said, you had kind of a broker, and you bought that mining stock, and you said you doubled your money in it.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, and then I think I sold half off, and then kind of let the other half ride, and then eventually it, dropped. So at the end of the day, who knows what the exact amount I made? It wasn't.
But you did make money is kind of
means.
what I'm trying to nudge at here.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So my question on that is, did this give you a sense of fool's gold? Like, hey, I got all this figured out, or were you still kind of unsure? But how did that trade that turned out to be a winner? I mean, what was going on with your kind of psyche at that point, as far as your view on your skills as a trader?
I'd say in the grand schemes of things, it was more like fool's gold, and I repeated the process a couple times and got lucky and. Overall.
But that sounds like one of those times you repeated the process and it didn't quite work out. Is that an accurate assumption on my part?
Yeah, or just
because the way I hear it and the way I'm sure listeners, okay, well, if you were doing something, you kept repeating it and it kept working, why would you ever stop doing it? So there's something that had to create a disconnect from this process that you were doing and why you're no longer doing it, or I'm assuming you're not. So, I mean, what occurred that made you think or made you realize, all right, this isn't exactly viable long term?
I'm trying to think. So I was still at the post office, but I had sold my house. I had more money. So I put more money into, different mining stock, and it was like just kind of going sideways forever, but had high hopes and whatnot. And I don't know, there was a morning where I'm like up like $5,000 and I'm just like, sweet, but it's like I should have just sold and realized that took forever, but hey, I made money.
Right. Well, that's obviously all hindsight. So I guess a question I want to personally know is, in terms of, deciding when to take profits or when to take losses, if that was even in the consideration at that time. And it's like I said, this isn't a judgmental thing. It's just, I'm wondering, did you have any kind of criteria where you're like, I wanted to get to 7,500 and then I'll take it off, or I don't want to lose more than $5,000, something like that, anything like that? Or were you in it more for the long haul? You're going to see where it goes.
I wouldn't say like the long haul, but it seemed like I could have made like $10,000 pretty easily. And then, so you're kind of waiting for that. And then, the thing starts falling pretty fast. And then, by the end of the day, it's like, okay, I made money on it, but, it wasn't worth waiting 3 months to make, $1,500 or so.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad you were able to walk away with some money for it. So was it kind of after some of these incidents of, sitting in these trades for 3+ months, riding the roller coaster of, plus 5K, only down to plus 1.5K, anything like that? Did that kind of make you realize that you need to look a little deeper into learning about the market or learning a specific strategy, or were you still, finding your way on your own per se?
Yeah, trading, now on more short-term stuff can still be nerve-wracking, but, when it's like day after day and you're just, checking this same stock, it's I don't know. I guess I realized, my patience I don't have the patience for super long-term stuff, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And that's, when people say, or I should say, when we say, well, it's all really a matter of personal risk tolerance. That's part of personal risk tolerance is what is your just attitude in general. And as Keith has alluded to, in the patient's department, yeah, there's some to be desired, and that's fine. I mean, we're all different human. Sure, we all have emotions, but everybody's emotions are weighed a little bit differently. And like I said, apparently ballpark. How long did this whole sequence last? Where it took you to kind of realize that, all right, this really doesn't fit my emotional profile. I mean, it sounds like it was definitely, multiple months, but I mean, was this?
I mean, it could have been like 6 months, a year,
or just
probably over the course of a year, because I listen to all these traders or probably watching stuff on YouTube or whatever, and the reality was I don't have the time to do that. It sounds ideal, if you got the time, the know-how to just trade as a living, but the way I was going about it was it wasn't enjoyable, let's put it that way.
Okay, no, that's a way to put it. And what I find fascinating here is, the part of the title of this whole podcast is, journey, the stock trading reality podcast. No, there's not. The journey is not part of it, but journey, it must be in the catchphrase of it. But the realistic side of a trader's journey. There we go. I knew there was journey somewhere, somewhere, but the realistic side of a trader's journey. And what I found, like I said, super interesting as part of this journey, basically took Keith a year to accomplish. And that was, what exactly is my emotional profile as it relates to the market? Meaning, do I feel okay in this sort of trade? Or, as Keith said, it didn't work out. I wasn't comfortable. It wasn't enjoy. There was just nothing that was jiving with them. And that took him multiple months. We'll call it a year just to make it a round number. But sometimes that is one of the biggest parts of the journey is just, you're figuring out what sort of, strategy, what sort of approach, what sort of system best fits into, whatever, fits between, what's going on between your two ears, because that's a whole lot to do with it, the mental side of things. So I found that super, super fascinating. I think a very realistic viewpoint of things is it's not like you show up and a month later, you're like, yep, I know my emotional profile is this, therefore it's that strategy that I need to pursue. Is it possible? I suppose, but you would definitely be an outlier as far as statistics would be concerned. So you make this determination, Keith, and it took a while. But do I hear an alarm?
I hear something.
Is that your house, Keith, or are you at work or something?
It is my house, and it seemed to have stopped. So,
okay, that's good. I'm like, if your building is burning down, I assure you the podcast isn't worth dying over.
Sometimes I'm like boiling water, and I'm like, okay, the oven is off. Yeah, we're good. So,
go grab the hose, hook it up to the sink, and just spray it towards the door.
I'm glad I didn't turn around and the kitchen wasn't on fire.
All right. Well, we can't edit that out. That was good stuff. All right. Anyways, I thought. Is Zencaster about to blow up? Is something?
I wasn't sure if it was you, Clay, or if it was.
I thought maybe my this talk of emotional profiles. I thought maybe mine finally snapped and I was going crazy.
You finally got the red alert.
Yeah, I finally got the
Clay's
red alert.
Lost it.
Yep. But good. It was just we don't know what it was. But so back on topic. You took a while to finish out that emotional profile, and you determined, all right, this isn't for me. So what was your next step there? Because you've made a pretty big stride in terms of a trading journey as far as the emotional state of things. So what was the next step that you took?
So, I mean, at some point, I took a huge step, and I signed up for CTU, and it took me a while, but at some point I left my job and just basically jumped in as
all right. Before you go any further,
yeah,
this is a very important thing that I want to dig into a little bit. So what made you feel like you were ready to leave a stable income to pretty much put your market on the line every day? What personally was like a checkbox that you're like, I'm going to go for this now? Things have lined up. The stars are aligned. The tea leaves are in the correct orientation in my cup. I don't know how tea leaves work, but I'm guessing that might be how it is. But what was it that made you feel you were ready to do that?
I mean, I guess there's, a few things. One, I was just really hungry to do this. There was, I had enough money in my bank account to weather some storms.
Let me cut you off there because that's a good point. That's an interesting comment that you made, and I'm glad to hear. Just so from a timeline sequence, you quit your job and then got Clay Trader University, or you got Clay Trader University and then eventually quit your job?
The second. I got it and then later quit.
Okay, and how long of a gap was that?
I think it was about 6 months.
Okay. So you invested into the Clay Trader University package, and 6 months later, you went out on your own. You quit your job, and Ches kind of alluded to this, but you made the comment about you had enough money to weather some storms. Go a little bit more into this. I don't need exact amounts, but was this like I guess walk us through, because that's super, super important. Because what we're not trying to convey here is that, if you want to become a trader, just quit your job right now, and there you go. I mean, there should be a lot more planning that goes into it, and this whole money for quote unquote weathering storms is a huge component of it. So give us a little bit more details on that part.
So I mean, I had a triplex, a small apartment building that, and I was actually living in a place where I was renting, and I had planned to sell it when I bought it like 11 years ago, basically, like kind of flip it, but the market basically crashed, in 2008 or before that even. So I had it forever in my mind. And the house that I was living in, it went up for sale, and I couldn't believe how much they're asking for it. And I hadn't really been paying too close attention to real estate prices. And so I was like, I'm not going to miss the market this time. So I did well on it. I don't need to throw out exact numbers, but,
when did you buy it?
05.
05, and you just sold it like,
I sold it a couple of years ago.
Okay. So you basically probably at least doubled your money, I would say.
Yeah.
Without giving numbers, knowing how the markets went. So yeah. All right. You're looking at least a double. Let me just ask you this. When you bought it, was it 6 figures or 5? Because here in Michigan, I mean, you could pick up stuff for 5 figures, but I don't know what the Oregon real estate market is. Was it 6 figures that you had it?
Yeah, I mean, it was 6 figures both ways.
Okay, it was over $100,000 that you bought it for. Okay, so I'm just trying to, without saying numbers, add a little bit more context around it to, you doubling your money. So, okay, that does make sense. So sorry to cut you off, but so you sold this piece of real estate, which essentially doubled your money in general, and I'll let you pick it back up from there.
Yeah, so I basically just wanted a life where I, don't have to work so dang hard. And not that I knew exactly what I was getting into, because trading is definitely work, especially as a new trader.
That's for sure.
So, and it doesn't end. I'm still learning, and yeah, it's a lot of work.
I assume the windfall that you got from this real estate transaction, is that what went into your, I don't know what you call it within your personal finances, but your rainy day fund, if you will, or maybe your storm fund, where is that covering a certain amount of months worth of expenses?
Yeah, for sure. I do now. I drive Uber and Lyft, and
nice.
That was kind of my plan going into it, is to have some kind of consistent income. And actually, probably got that idea from you, Ches, on a podcast. at some point.
Yep, there definitely was an older podcast right after I quote unquote went full time.
Yeah.
I needed some kind of side, multiple income streams. We go on rants about that all the time. But yes, I started to see the value of that for my mental, psyche and well-being. So I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah. And to be honest, at first, like I took it pretty half-heartedly. Go out at 8:00 on a, Wednesday and you make like $10. You're like, this is kind of a rip. But once I realized, hey, if it's 9:30 and I'm not feeling it in the morning, just go out and drive, and then once I started just committing to that a little bit more, it's like, okay, you can actually make some money at this. And
are you willing to, I mean, we don't need exact figures, but because for listeners out there, you benefited from it. Maybe, a newer listener can benefit from, I mean, of course you're not making $10,000 a month or anything, no. I'm sure, driving around, but I mean, what kind of money could, somebody in your situation, I mean, hey, I'm trying this trade, not even necessarily trading, but hey, I just want to get some more revenue coming into my, personal finances. I mean, what kind of numbers does Uber give you when, to your own admission, you kind of go full bore into it rather than the half-heartedness?
Yeah, so I probably drive, depending on the week and how busy I am, between 20 and 40 hours, and on average do about $500 a week. So say 30 hours a week, about $2,000 a month or so.
And I'm assuming a lot of the time you're just listening to podcasts or audiobooks or stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll take a book with me, or I'm easily distracted, so I'll be, when I'm, just parked watching YouTube stuff, or or actually I was going through a lot of courses in the beginning. So
okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm like, I wonder if Clay even knows this. When I first started driving for Uber and Lyft, when I didn't have runs to do, I was watching robotic trading on my phone in the car.
Oh yeah,
straight up. So
we're in the same boat.
I'm glad to hear I'm not the only person. I'm like, if I have time to be studying right now, I'm going to study. So
exactly.
I willingly, instead of listening to fun stuff or music, I listen to Clay repeat stuff.
I'm the
over and
funnest
over
stuff
again.
that you could listen to. But in all honesty, I mean, just a quick pile on. To me, that's like that's making the system work for you. I mean, I get it. That's kind of a cliche saying, but how do you assign practicalness to it? If you can find a job that pays you to listen to podcasts or audiobooks, or, in this case, courses, I mean, that's pretty cool that you're sitting around waiting to make money. Mm-hmm. And you're just, you're getting paid to do that while, you're getting paid to learn or to better yourself, which is, what's Ches, the Amazon thing where you can deliver for Amazon? What's that called?
Shoot, I forgot what it was.
You know what I'm talking about, though?
Yeah. It's Amazon essentially has like a Uber Eats thing, but it's for packages, and it's just for quick delivery packages. I forgot the name of it, to be honest, because it wasn't in my area. But yeah, that's definitely another thing if you live in a big city.
And like, if you don't like people, no excuses, assuming that it's in your city. I mean, how great would that be? You just get paid to listen to podcasts and drive packages all the way around, or, all around. So, I mean, shoot. Well, whatever. A Google search would reveal that. Do you know, Keith, this Amazon? Are you familiar with it at all?
I don't know of one that you can just do like. Well, actually, I think I a long time ago.
Amazon Flex. That's what it's
there
called.
It is.
Yeah.
Amazon
I think I met
Flex.
an Uber guy that did that as well. So.
Okay, so to me, Amazon Flex would be, because I'm kind of a shy person, so I don't know. Uber, I don't know if I could really do that, because all right, I'm picking up person. Do I have to make conversation? I don't know. But a package you don't have to make conversation with. So it's like, all right, well, I'm going to listen to some podcast or an audiobook that's going to, or some sort of, something that benefits me. I'm not going to listen to, something that's just is mindless numbness. But I think that's moral of the story here, Keith. I'm liking how you're making the system work for you. So what I'm still trying to, so let's dig back in. You quit your job. You have this windfall. It's covering expenses. But then, you decided to pick up that job. So did you, I guess you said you always had that plan where you're going to be, doing some sort of Uber. Is that
it
accurate?
was definitely I don't know if a backup is the right word, but, just
in case. Okay, so
stream.
just think you considered it as a possibility in the event trading profits did not come as quickly as what you thought they might. Is that pretty much how it existed?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you from quitting your job to then driving for Uber? Or in other words, how long did it take you to kind of realize that, okay, wow, this trading thing is it's a little bit more intense than what maybe I had forecasted?
So like I said, I was doing like maybe a couple rides here and there, basically from the get-go. I did start with just Lyft, and then actually it was a few, like maybe 6 months ago, where I finally got the Uber one, because I didn't think Uber was that popular, but it definitely is, and I get probably 3 or 4 times as much business through that. So that was one reason why I was like kind of disheartened at first. But if you can make it work to do both, at least here in Portland, that's the way to go. So what was the original question?
Clay, do you remember the original question?
I was just wondering.
You kind of answered it.
Yeah, you did a good enough job answering. I was just, from when you started trading to when you decided to start Lyft, doing the Uber and Lyft and all that. I'm assuming you put on several trades, and not that you necessarily made or lost money, but it became apparent pretty quickly that consistency was something you still needed to work on.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that happened, and how long did it take for that realization to happen? Just it sounded like pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely trying to grind it out, but it was just like, I was kind of, I was all over the place, and I kind of had to step back and make smaller goals and take the pressure off. Like I think when I started, it was like, I have to make $200 a day, and once I didn't have to think like that, it's become more enjoyable. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And Keith and I were literally in the same boat in terms of, we got a trading account funded. Mm-hmm. We are full time. We now understand what psychology does to you when you got money on the line, got part-time jobs. And then similarly, I'm like, I know what I need to make per day, quote unquote, per day. Mm-hmm. And then that just leads to more pressure. And eventually you realize, oh, wow, I need to come at this from a different direction. Sure. Goals are great. They're absolutely risky. And if I remember to link it in the show notes, which I will definitely do, it'll be in the link below. Clay has a good video about trading goals and how they are risky. But yeah, so you realize this stuff and smaller goals. So that's my whole thing, is just trying to, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you had this thought process, I'm like, if you can make $1 a day, you can go from there. But the key is you can't make $1 a day and then lose 50 the next day. So did you ever have any of those moments where you're like, there's something to this risk versus reward thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's still there, but if I wipe out a week's worth of gains, at least it's, it's not going to tear me up like it would have before, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of your trading, what are you primarily looking for? Are you looking for momentum stocks? You're looking to, just buy support? What does your trading look like? How long are you sitting at the desk? Stuff like that. Yeah.
So, kind of what I've learned, like, I would, when I would basically trade like all day, I would, sometimes a lot of times I do pretty good in the morning and then just give it all back in the afternoon. And they're short-term trades. They're, alerts that come up in the chat room. I listen to, the Benzinga, I don't know. They have like a little news thing that you can actually get for free through Thinkorswim. So they'll pop up, different things that are moving. It's basic RVR stuff for the most part, I would say.
Are you looking for any certain? I'm sorry, Chaz. Are you looking?
No. You're good.
Are you looking for any certain patterns or, alerts that you like one alert type over another? But it sounds like you're short-term day trading, but what kind of setups are you aim for in that regard?
Well, ones I've been more consistent with are, for some reason, I'm more drawn to shorting. So, if you have an alert that's like, fade over whatever, I'm definitely looking at it. So, I mean, that's definitely a play.
Now, are you building like I do, or are these just strict RVR trades?
I have, and sometimes it's my I'm working on the discipline, and it's hurt me if I'm not cutting quick enough, because sometimes those suckers can really blow up in your face. So yeah, I mean, it's I will build, but it's like if I'm building too much, it gets scary. So that's why
So can I offer some constructive criticism here?
Yep.
Or not, I don't know if it's criticism, but do you know that you want to build before going in, or are these starting off as this is going to be an RVR trade?
Yes, I would say I'm willing to build. I think maybe watching like some of your trading videos that I'd watch on YouTube, I would mistakenly think that because you're so consistent that you can. It's basically just I'll just double down and double down and double down. Eventually, you'll be right. And it only takes
there's more to it that goes.
It takes a couple of
definitely more that goes to
yeah. Once you get smoked on one of those, you have to rethink the strategy. But
the question though is, okay, you're looking at a chart. Are you mapping out your RVR boxes, and are you setting up everything from an RVR point of view? And then all of a sudden it kind of goes against you. You say, okay, fine, I'm going to start to build, or are you looking at it as I know that I want to try to build on this one before the trade even executes?
Yeah, so I'm definitely working on that. I would say now I'm definitely more oriented towards RVR, but that's a weird one, because I know you had another guy on your podcast that he's basically kind of combining the two, and he was a newer trader, and I don't know how. It seemed, I mean, in your mind, should it be one or the other, or does it actually?
I mean, I will never say there's a holy grail, so I can't. Yeah. I can't say that it's impossible to combine the two.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure how that all functions without really digging into a fine. Again, I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying I don't really understand how it could be done, but. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to, it sounds like your problem is, because the last thing you want to do is, if you know that you want to build or fade or whatever you want to call it, like my YouTube videos are, you see, is you have to go into it with, okay, this is what I want to do, because if you want to do that, then there's certain criteria that automatically go into play about initial entry points and all that sort of stuff. But if you're like, okay, this is going to be an RVR trade with this, that, and the other, and you set up all of that. And then all of a sudden it violates. You're like, okay, well, never mind. Now I'm going to do Clay's kind of like fading strategy.
Right.
That by definition is not putting you at an original entry point that you probably should have been at. And at that point, it's very easy to get smoked in a hurry, because it's just blending two strategies that you never really intended to blend. You kind of just change your mind in the middle of a trade, which is very common. I mean, we've all done it where. Okay, my stop loss is there, and the price gets close and close and close, and all of a sudden it hits it. You're like, well, no, we'll do this. And doing this can be a strategy change. It can simply be bumping the stop loss, more so in our direction to keep us in the trade. So I mean, it's not like you're a freak of nature in terms of struggling with this stuff. It's just something to consider. Is because I hear you talking about both, but just there's got to be a fine line. If you're doing an RVR trade going in, don't let an RVR trade turn into some sort of fade strategy. Ches, you've been there before, right? Where you can relate to what Keith's saying.
Right. It's you're jumping around when in reality you kind of got to pick one and work through it. But I think everybody's been there generally. But yeah, me and Keith are very similar in that regard. I've definitely done that.
Yeah, and it's does that make sense though, Keith?
No, it does. So yeah, I would say my strategy is more, towards RVR now. It's like, if I don't have a stop loss, I'm not, or at least in mine, I'm not going to get into this trade. Um, and that's just, my risk, uh, tolerance isn't as high as I thought it used to be. That makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's good that you have a predetermined level where you're saying, if it hits this, then see you later. I'm out of here, and that's perfectly fine. That's a wise way to go about things. And do you do any? This is all with stock, or are you doing this with options?
It's with stocks.
Okay.
And yeah, so I don't want to be a huge strategy hopper because, well, one, it takes a while just to figure out what your strategy is. And it's like, okay, I'm getting more comfortable in what I like, but I am interested. I've taken like the introductory options course, and I think I just thought the advanced stuff, was just going to overwhelm me, and so now I'm starting to dip my toes into that. I haven't, made any trades in that department at all, but that's kind of my new stuff to listen to while I am out driving and not doing anything. Because I am curious of more of, kind of the way that Ches went in that world.
I definitely fall more into the swing trader category for sure, but it works. It's not, I don't know how to explain it. It's not something I mentally struggle with. It feels much more natural and much more, I guess, my speed. Technically, I don't know how to perfectly put it. It's just a much better fit for me. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I still practice short-term trading and all of that, but that's by no means a source of my income like advanced options trading. But obviously, what you want to work on. But what would you say you're good at? What are some things that you find you kind of got locked up already?
I think just, being able to see when something's overextended in one way or another, if it's looking like a good short or a good bounce, those are kind of what I'm looking for. And then, just in the process of the year, just, slowing down my trading, not over trading, being more patient, waiting for things.
And I would assume your part-time income now has alleviated that. It makes it much easier to be patient when there's other streams of income coming in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely a good benefit of.
Sometimes I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
Keith.
I was just going to say sometimes I'm shocked that I just thought I could just quit my job and be a trader overnight. So, yeah.
Well, you could have really shocked yourself and quit your job and done this with absolutely zero storm fund or rainy day fund in place. So,
that would have been bad.
Trust me, Ches and I have heard extremely a lot more crazy where it's I have bills to pay. And because I have bills to pay and because my current job does not pay me enough, or I don't think it pays me enough as they type this to us on their iPhone, but I won't go down that path. Yeah. But my job does not pay me enough. So therefore, and I don't have any savings because my job doesn't pay me enough and I have bills. So therefore, I've quit and I'm now going to become a full-time trader. So if I sign up for your $99 service, are you going to tell me when to buy and sell? And I'm not even trying to be funny. That, Ches, we get examples like that in one shape or another quite often, don't we?
We sure do. All shapes and colors, I'll give you that.
Yeah. So point here, Keith, not nearly as crazy as what it was in your mind. I would argue that you went about it in a logical note because you were willing to potentially work if you had to, and you also went into it with a rainy day fund in place just in case things didn't go well. It's not like you're going to be, have zero money to pay your bills or anything like that. Before we go to the time machine question, what does your chart actually look like? If I was sitting next to you and I was looking at your chart, what are the indicators and such that you, kind of all have in place?
Yeah, so I have a couple different things. So there's, I guess on my main broker, at the moment I have, I just have like pivot points and VWAP up. And then on I have Thinkorswim charts up, and I'll have more of like the kind of the basic moving averages. Yeah, just like all the moving averages.
So,
like you have
so nothing too complex. You keep it pretty easy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, volume.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, price and volume make up all the other indicators anyway. So obviously, that's more people can trade with those very well than some people can with 40 indicators. So, well, I'm glad to hear you keeping it simple, because there is no holy grail, as we say every week, and trying to build one is not going to work. But you can try, and there are people who have gone to the grave trying. So I'm glad you just kind of keeping it simple, and it's more so about figuring out where you have the best opportunity in the market. And like I said, that's also part of a personal journey in itself. But Keith, it's been a pleasure having you on. I do know the real reason you came on, though, was to borrow my time machine. If I was to lend it to you, which I will, and you can give yourself one piece of advice that's not a buy or a sell, what would that advice be?
Well, I guess it depends how far back we're going. The first time I wouldn't have given up, I would have, even if I was just trading really small, I just would have, just stuck with it, because I'm interested in this stuff. You don't have to have thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. And more recently, I'd say, like, when I quit, I would have just paper traded for the first month. I just get used to stuff. Instead of just throwing money at it right away. I mean, either way, both ways you'll learn, but one can be a lot more costly.
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as a cost efficiency perspective, sometimes paper trading is a little bit better of a choice to make. So for you listeners out there you go. That's the whole idea of this, just having people being honest, so that you can pick up from some of their regrets and some of the things that they would do differently, which is the whole idea. It's basically, that question is a nice way of Ches and I rubbing salt in the wounds with, tell us your biggest regrets, because let's bring up regrets. But I mean, you can't be like, tell us. I mean, it's just a more, Ches, we're such scumbags the way we sugarcoat things.
We really are.
Yeah. I mean, what a clever way. But all right, Keith, I also appreciate you being here. But now time to get serious. And you have listened to many podcasts from us as you've run away from dogs, delivering the mail. Have you ever been chased by a dog?
Yeah.
Is that just a stereotypical thing that ignorant people like me just throw at you, and you're probably like, oh, here we go again with dogs?
I was bit at least twice. But, not that
Wow.
Didn't put me in the hospital or anything, but yep, it happens.
Man, I mean, do you carry around like dog mace?
Yeah.
Or anything? Does that even exist?
Yeah, they make you carry around this dog spray stuff. And, yeah, it's
It clearly didn't work when you got bit a couple times. Did the
one
dogs
caught me off guard.
Like, give me some more of that.
Yeah, one caught me off guard, and then I've used it before. It's protected me a few times. I probably would have been bit a few more times.
Wow.
It. Yeah.
Man, that's pure. Maybe we'll have to have you back, and you could just tell us some of the intense mail stories, because it sounds like it. I'm assuming you have some good stories, but we won't go there. Where we are going to go, though, is favorite movie. So what is your favorite movie?
So I haven't seen it in a while, but my favorite movie is Bottle Rocket.
Bottle Rocket?
Yeah. You know it?
I have not seen that.
I have not heard of it.
Oh, okay. It's a Wes Anderson. Yeah, Wes Anderson movie with Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson.
Bottle Rocket. Oh, so
I think it was their first one. So yeah, along those lines of Royal Tenenbaums and that type of thing.
Well, there we go.
Gotcha.
Add it to the list.
You definitely should check it out.
Yeah, you got a growing list. I gotta catch up at some point. But what about food and dessert? What are your favorites for those two?
Probably fried chicken, and let's see, a dessert be like a peach cobbler, maybe a pecan pie.
Sounds good to me. Making me hungry listening to that right now.
I'm hungry right now.
What about hobbies? What do you like to do outside of the market?
So I've been a skateboarder for like 30 years or so. I do that. I do some mountain biking. super.
I think you need to take clay out with you.
Super hobby. I mean, not
pass.
like any. You know, I don't do it a lot, but I do a little bit of art and mess around with the guitar a little bit. So that's kind of it.
Perfect. All righty. Well, if you had to pick 3 words that you think define successful trading, what would those 3 words be?
Man, it seems like I was thinking this and writing down about 100 words. it's hard to boil them down.
Oh man, we're cruel. It's hard to narrow that list down.
It's hard to boil
3.
it down. I would say, I'd say education, discipline, and endurance.
Oh, I don't dislike the first 2, but endurance. That may be I don't know if
I'm not sure if we've had that before. I think we've had other words similar, but I know you keep the thesaurus right near you, Clay. But yeah, I don't think anyone's actually used that.
Are those? Well, I'm glad to contribute.
Well, synonyms are never mind. We won't turn this into an.
Well, we're not going down that road.
Yeah,
we're not going down that road.
No. Well, yeah, Keith, that's endurance. That's we started on a very bad note with your hamburger answer, but we ended on a very good note with your endurance word. Nice. So nice, full circle, good recovery, and thank you very much for taking some time out of your day to do this. Ches and I really appreciate it. So yeah, man, thank you for hanging out.
My pleasure. Meant to do it a long time ago.
Awesome. Well, before we all go, particularly you as listeners, a few final requests and FYIs on my part. If you're listening on the YouTube channel to this, realize that there's much more on the YouTube channel than just this video. Live trades, which we talked about. There's vlog videos. There's quick tips. So a good variety. So check out the channel as a whole, and hopefully you decide to subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players, subscribe so you're aware of when new content comes out. And on iTunes, if you could leave us a rating, that helps us out. That goes a long way, and we really appreciate it. And then finally, if you're listening at claytrader.com on the show notes page, which Ches mentioned earlier on, that he would be linking a video to the trader goals are risky. That is where you would find that on the show notes page. So if you're on that page, either watching that video or you're going to listen, leave us a comment down below. Click that share button. We will be interactive. We will reply to you if you choose to leave a comment. So we thank you again to you as listeners. Thank you to Keith. Thank you to our esteemed co-host, Ches. We will see you back next week.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.